Hi, I'm Dr. Leif Smith. Do you remember your first love? Do you remember your first kiss? Of course you do. Why wouldn't you? It's an emotional experience. It was a big moment in your life, right? I feel the same way about my first self-help book. I know, I'm a nerd. I'm sorry, but some of you out there can relate. I remember my first self-help book. I remember being 17 years old, being a stupid teenager, being an impulsive teenager, being an out-of-control teenager. But one of the things I've always loved is learning. And this was instilled in me as one of 12 children to my parents, who divorced, went their separate ways, but they were both very curious people, very intelligent people. And my mom, I was living with my mom at this time, and I was the oldest of 8 children at home when I was in high school. So I was about 17 years old, and my mom was always reading something. I really respect that about her. She was always reading something, and a lot of it was self-help books. Some of them are more esoteric, some of them are not germane to what I needed as a 17-year-old, right? It's nothing I could relate to, but I found this one book and I started flipping through it. And it opened a whole new world for me on self-help. The idea that you could read a book and get better at something, that you could read a book and get the knowledge from a professional therapist or a professional in the field or a coach, or someone could live 90 years of their life and put it all in a biography, and you can get the important stuff from that book and read it in a week or 2 weeks or whatever, how long ever it takes for you to read the book. You could get all the key distilled learning points from their life and inject them into your own. So when I was 17, I fell in love for the first time. And my first self-help book was The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. This copy is very nostalgic for me. There are many more copies. I actually have a couple more copies of this book in my bookshelf at home. And it's very special. This is the 1978 version, so a long time ago. And it was a secondhand book, I think, that my mom got. But I remember flipping through the table of contents. Chapter 1, Believe You Can Succeed and You Will. Chapter 2, Cure Yourself of Excusitis, the failure disease. Chapter 3, Build Confidence and Destroy Fear. Chapter 4, How to Think Big. Chapter 5, How to Think and Dream Creatively. I get excited just reading these titles, the table of contents now, because I remember what it felt like then when I thought, well, this is interesting. This is pretty practical information. It's pretty helpful, right? How to set your goals high and then exceed them. That really struck a chord in me when I was 17 years old. What I didn't realize is that was the start of Leif Smith Now. This is where I really began falling in love with learning, specifically with nonfiction, with self-help, with books that are practical and that can inject some learning into my life that I can use, and that I can use to help other people and get better. So, The Magic of Thinking Big was my first love. If you haven't read this book, maybe it'll help you fall in love with the self-help genre of books. Maybe it won't. But it was a very important book for me. And since then, I've read thousands of books. Thousands of books. Some good, some not so good. This one is not the most complex book. It's an easy read. It was written in, I think, 1959. Okay? So we're going on, over 60 years now, okay, that this book has been out. And it's still in print. That tells you there must be something to it. But this book really opened my eyes to the possibilities out there. If we change the way we think about things, if we change the way we feel about things, and if we change our behaviors. And it gives us some tools on how to do that. And it really opened my eyes as a 17-year-old teenager. And I've never looked back. And so I'm very thankful. I'm very nostalgic. I will always hold on to my copy of The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. If you haven't read it, go out and read it today. I think this is definitely one of the books that can change your life. I'm Dr. Leif Smith. Thanks for watching today, and I'll see you in the next video.